So good morning. I want to welcome you to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Reverend Nori Rost. I'm the minister here, and I'm delighted that you're here with us as well. If this is your very first time visiting and you feel like you want to do this, feel free to give a shout out in the chat, and one of our membership team volunteers will greet you. Lynn or Judy will be happy to greet you and make you feel warmly welcome to the church. But I'm glad you're all here with us today. Have just a few announcements, of course, that I want to share with you. First of all, super cool adult religious exploration opportunity after service today. Join Beth Green and Justin Lincoln as they explore how we can deepen our spiritual practices. So it kind of fits in really well with the theme of this month, which is kind of opening up, and in particular today's theme, which is opening up to the holy. So you don't need to RSVP. There's a link on our website and in our e-letter. And Beth could probably stick it in the chat in just a few minutes if you'd like to do that as well. Just show up at noon and have a great time learning and sharing together. As always, Tuesdays with Nori will be at 5:30. It's just a simple, informal way for us to have a weekly check-in with me, with you, and one another. That Zoom link is also on our website and in our e-letter. So I encourage you to show up at 5:30 on Tuesdays for Tuesdays with Nori. Next Sunday, we have a very special Sunday. Our own Sarah Hotzinger will be presenting an Earth Day service for us. Sarah is a professor at the ubiquitous Colorado College, as we were just speaking earlier. And she has done a lot of field work and personal research and academic research into climate change and faith and the intersections of those two. So it's going to be a really cool service next week you won't want to miss. Kind of sad news, we're beginning the process to find a new director of religious exploration. As most of you know, Beth is going to be leaving us at the end of this year. She and her husband and family are moving back to North Carolina. She's been such an amazing and fabulous DRE, particularly during this singular year that we've had. Let's put it that way. So if that's something, if you've been inspired by her and you think I would like to inspire others that way too, there is a process. You can email jobs@asuuc.net and you can send your resume there. And there's also a job description on the website. So there's that. All right, following the service, we will be assigned into I'm with you, Tamsin. We're just going to kidnap her. That's the Unitarian way. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, except for when Beth tries to leave. Anyways, after the service, we're going to be assigned into different breakout rooms, kind of like an informal coffee hour, if you will. So we encourage you to click the join button when you get that invitation at the end of service and just hang out with a few people after church. It is random except for choir and band members who have their own room. And if you'd like to be a part of that room, put that in the chat and hopefully somebody will alert me to that. All right, just take a few minutes to go through the little thumbnail videos and names of people and say hey to everyone who's here. Super excited to see you all here today. There's Barb Kohlhaus and Heidi Cooper and Sarah and Polly. I think I saw Kathleen Brannon. It's her birthday today. And Beth Woods had a birthday this week also. So happy birthday to the two of you and anyone else who's having a birthday around this time. Happy birthday. Anybody who's having a birthday this year, I just want to say happy birthday to you. So delightful that you're all here today. We gather here every week, not because we must, but because we can. We come not in spite of our differences, but to flaunt our diversity. We gather from every socioeconomic stream, race, ethnicity, gender identity, drinking song choices, and we find that we're actually much more fabulous and beautiful when we can bring all of who we are into this Zoom room. It's a virtual room, but we're really seen and known for all of who we are. And that is what makes this sacred space. And that is what makes this holy ground. So let's take a moment and breathe in the divinity of this hour brought here to you by you as I ring the bell.
The reading for our chalice lighting today comes to us from Maureen Killeran. Blessed is this ground on which we stand. Holy is this place. Holy are the places of memory, the places which have formed us, where we store the icons of success and shattered dreams and gather threads and pieces of what we would become. Holy are the places of memory. Holy are the places of the dream, the places over the rainbow where all children are wanted and all people are fed, where colors are the source of celebration and youth and age come to the table as one. Holy are the places of the dream. Holy are the places of change and pain, the places of our struggle where the rivers of our lives run white and fast and we hold on and grow. Holy are the places of change and pain. Holy are the places of connection, the places where we risk ourselves, where hands, touch souls, touch minds, and in awareness still, we change our lives. Holy are the places of connection. Holy are the places of becoming, the places of clear vision where life and world are intertwined and we can see forever in this moment and give thanks. Holy are the places of becoming.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so as Nori said, I'm leaving, and believe me, I am also very sad about it. But if you are interested in doing this amazing job, it is amazing. Please reach out if you have any questions or reservations or anything like that. My door is always open. If I was not being dragged back to North Carolina kicking and screaming, just kidding. It's very bittersweet. I would stay. This has been the most amazing time here. Real quick before I get to our stories, I just wanted to say a brief thank you to our families and our volunteers that came out last week for the Easter spring in-person gathering. It was so fantastic. Jessie Trobick and Heidi Cooper henna tattooed all of our kids and some adults for 2 hours straight. We had lots of games and crafts. Thank you all so much. Our next in-person gathering will be the last Sunday in May 30th. I have a very special surprise for that day, which I will be announcing soon, but it's in the works. And yes, with that, I will get to our story. Little Tree written by Lauren Long. And looks like Lauren also is the illustrator. Okay, and go in the other room if it's gonna make you cry. Kellen's here. Once there was a little tree filled with little leaves, who was surrounded by other little trees who had little leaves of their own. In the heat of long summer days, Little Tree's leaves kept him cool. The squirrels would climb up on his branches to play. The mourning dove landed in him and sang her fluty song. The little tree was sure to grow up big and strong. Autumn arrived and cool winds filled the air. The wind tickled the little tree as it passed through his branches and ruffled his leaves. Let the dog go. Their air grew cold, and the leaves on all of the trees changed color, becoming yellow, red, and orange. Then, one by one, the trees began to drop their leaves. But not Little Tree. He just hugged his leaves tight. Hello, Little Tree, said a squirrel. You're supposed to drop your leaves now. But Little Tree was unsure. What would he do without his leaves? Winter came. What are you doing with leaves still on you? Asked the doe. Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. Springtime arrived and the little forest burst into life again. The other trees grew bright new leaves. The squirrels played in their branches. Little Tree could hear the mourning dove singing her fluty song. The seasons continued to come and go. Little Tree, quacked a duckling, your leaves are brown. Are you feeling sick? A fox said, Little Tree, it's autumn. It's time for you to drop your leaves. You can do it. Ready? 1, 2. But Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. All around, the forest grew and grew. One summer, Little Tree could no longer feel the sunlight. The squirrels played high above on the broad, tall trees. And the mourning dove sang so far away that he could hardly hear her fluty song. Autumn came again. The leaves began to blanket the ground. Little Tree looked up at the other trees, at their branches reaching high into the sky. He remembered when the trees had all been his size. And then he let go. As his last leaf floated to the ground for the first time, Little Tree felt the harsh cold of winter. But in time, something happened. Once there was a little tree. The end.
Good morning, everybody. This reading is taken from Desert Spring by Victoria E. Safford. They had no idea where they were going when they left that night, in the dark, without lights, without shoes, without bread. Their children smothered against them so they would make no noise. They had no idea what they were getting into, following this Moses, this wild-eyed one who claimed visions and made promises, but who, after all, could guarantee them nothing except death if they were caught. In the springtime, we remember, the promised land is not a destination. It is a way of going. The land beyond the Jordan, that country of freedom and dignity and laughter. You carry it inside you all the while. It is planted in your mind and heart already, before you ever start out, before it even occurs to you that in order to leave that life in Egypt, the intolerable bondage of that life, what you need to do is stand up and walk forward.
I need to take just a few more minutes to process that story that Beth told. I'm like, come on, little tree, learn. Thankfully, he did. Never do that to me again, Beth. Thank you, Kathy and Sherry, for your artful and beautiful readings as well. Here we are in the midst of spring. Yesterday, as I was taking a walk, unlike little tree, I noticed little buds that were scattered on the sidewalk that had been pushed off the limbs of trees to make room for the blossoms that are sure to follow. The sun seemed somehow warmer and friendlier than it had during its welcome winter appearances. Birdsong reminds us of the perennial ritual of mating and birth that happens every year, beginning now. What is your tried and true harbinger of spring? For a friend of mine, it's foreshadowed in mid-February by the return of the bluebirds to her mountain homes. And she always sends out a text or an email, sorry, my nose is itchy, when she sees that first bluebird winging its way in the mountains. For another, it's the first sighting of the Paschal flowers, so named because they appear first in spring around Easter time. What is it that makes you feel spring has sprung? Feel free to write it in the chat. For me, I think just being able to go outside without a jacket is a sign. Oh, it's so lovely. And spring reminds us that no matter how hard this past year has been, how difficult the days have been, there is new life. There is hope. There is a mystery of spring that calls us to open ourselves to open our own cold, barren hearts to the holy that is all around us. Spring reminds us that the holy is always with us, as we heard in the chalice lighting. Holiness, miracles, new life aren't just found in the yellow daffodils that greet me on my daily walks. Holiness is in the shriveled husk that was evident last autumn. That little tree had to work, maybe not the sharpest crayon in the box, little tree, but we love him. He had to work to figure out that in the shriveled husk that was evident last autumn is found holiness. Holiness is in the loss of autumn and the dreary, bitter cold of winter, when it feels as if all is lost. There can't be new life, as Judy wrote in the chat, without loss. And so loss is holy too. It's no wonder spring is also connected to the holy, or the holy is connected to spring in so many faith traditions. This day, we sit in the midst of 3 such important holy days that we've just kind of completed. 2 we've just completed, 1 we're in the midst of. The Jewish Passover, signaling new life and freedom from captivity, an end to hundreds of years of slavery. The Christian Easter, signaling new life, and the figure of Jesus who thought you were to die for. And the month of Ramadan in Islam, a month-long festival celebrating the new hope of the first revelation of Islam from God to Muhammad. And of course, pagan cultures also celebrate new life in the spring. Our word Easter, after all, is a derivative of Ostara, the Germanic goddess of spring and new life. Her feast day is always the first full moon following the vernal equinox, which is March 21st, and this year that full moon was March 28th. That's the day to celebrate Ostara and the return of spring. In these uncertain days of COVID-19, it is important to remember these rituals, to remember that in ancient times, our ancestors often worried that the end of the world was near. And yet each spring, Mother Earth is faithful to rise from her slumber and bring new life. Each of these traditions represent a moment when a people encountered the holy. Where is the holy in our lives? How can we open ourselves up to it? What areas of your life have been encased in the tomb of winter that need now to be given the opportunity to burst forth in the glorious technicolors of spring? Some areas will just automatically sprout up, but we won't notice them, or we'll even think of them as weeds, like dandelions, forgetting that dandelions have curative properties. They're antibacterial, and they can stave off staph infections and pneumonia. It's also good for treating bladder infections, not to mention just delighting children and adults with its whimsical life. How many impulses do we have that we try to weed out because we think them childish or annoying, like a weed? But what if instead of seeing them as a distraction, we view them as something that's trying to get our attention? We see the holiness in life when we pay attention to it. I don't know what a prayer is, Mary Oliver says in her poem, Some Day, but I do know how to pay attention. So many times when someone is behaving badly in public, or when there is a catastrophe, or when egregious violations of human rights are happening, we see people pulling out their smartphones and filming the entire event. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for providing eyewitness documentation that can be used to prosecute white police who murder Black men and women. But I wonder what would happen if we paid as much attention to the holiness of our humanity and of our planet. What if we pulled out our phones just as eagerly to film children playing at the park on the slippery slide, or the elderly couple making their way slowly around the perimeter of the park, arm in arm, one holding a cane, the other with portable oxygen? What if we kept an eye out for the dandelions' cheery yellow smile, or the effortless way they let go of their past, floating on the wind at the behest of a child's breath? We open ourselves to holiness when we realize that the world is more than how we viewed it. It is more than how we've seen it through our shuttered gaze. Our lives, our own lives, are greater than we see them. I'm bigger than my body gives me credit for, John Mayer sings, and it's true. The opposite of holiness isn't evil. It's apathy. It's the unrelenting trudging through life without ever seeing the beauty of the sunrise, without ever hearing the bird song, without ever realizing that life can be different. Spring teaches us that beauty can arise out of seemingly dead earth, that barren trees can bud and blossom and bear fruit, that year after year, the bluebirds and paschal flowers return, that nature never lets us down. And we are part of nature. We can create new beginnings out of the seemingly frozen soil of our hearts. We can return to the mystery and beauty of who we are. No matter how barren the previous season has been, there is holiness, wholeness, sacred mystery, ever-flowing life in us, in you even, in me even. When we open ourselves to the holiness all around and within us, we thread the first and seventh principles of our faith together in an unbending safety net of justice and love, that each of us has inherent worth and dignity. It is revealed in our vulnerable breath and steady heartbeat, and it is modeled for us in the interdependent web of existence which we belong to. And when we open ourselves to the holiness of everything, something curious happens. We begin to care more about the unjust system of white supremacy that has allowed so many people of color to be murdered by the state. We begin to care more about our kin experiencing homelessness, about the refugees and immigrants and those who don't have access to affordable health care. When we open ourselves to the holiness of everything, we are compelled to take action to halt or to mitigate the effects of climate change, not because humans will suffer, but because our planet will. The holy trees and sacred air and divine dandelions will suffer unless we do something to save their holy ground. When we open ourselves to the holiness of everything, we hold our own hand. We tell our own heart how beautiful we are. As Sister Marquina Whitaker wrote, a prayer for all of us. Oh God, help me to believe the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. Oh God, oh mystery, oh sacred, oh divine, oh universe, oh love, help me to believe the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. Frankly, it's hard to think about changing a ruined world, corrupt people, or our own damaged spirits. But when we open ourselves to the holiness of everything, we remember ourselves. We carry it with us always. We can return again and again. In the springtime, we remember the promised land is not a destination. It's a way of going. The land beyond the Jordan, that country of freedom and dignity and laughter and dandelions and holiness, we carry it inside all the while. It is planted in our minds and hearts already. When we open ourselves to the holiness of everything, holiness is all we see. When we walk down the street or look in the mirror, and the only response we have is love and healing and new life. May it be so. Please join with me in our sermon response song. Oh, you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like this, and I'm gonna sing it all month.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Though below me I feel my rudder as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Nori, you're right. That is the best song. Our offertory reading today comes from Barbara Brown Taylor, An Altar in the World, A Geography of Faith. Our lives are inextricably bound up with the lives of other people. So much depends on things we can never control. A butterfly beats its wings in Beijing, making it impossible to predict the weather in New York. We now have the opportunity to impact not only our local communities, but our world as we give generously of our financial resources. Instructions for giving via text, online, or with a check will be on the next screen and in the chat.
Only by day, empty and cold, only to say, lo and behold, deep in the night, down in my dreams, glory in the sight this soul has seen. There's a well on the hill you just can't kill for Jesus. There's a well on the hill, let it be. I don't build no heathen temples where the Lord has done laid his hand on. There's a well on the hill, let it be. And everyone's talking about the gospel story. Some shall sink and some shall rise. And everyone's talking about the trains of glory. Early, it's a long, long time till it gets there to you, baby. Come on, there's a well on the hill you just can't kill for Jesus. There's a well on the hill, let it be. I don't build no heathen temples where the Lord is the lady's head on. There's a well on the hill, let it be. There's a well on the hill, let it be.
Please join me for our offertory response song. receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Fabulous service. And now as we prepare to extinguish our chalice, our closing words by Eric Williams. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go forth in peace. May we go forth in peace. Please join in singing with me in singing the Extinguishing the Chalice song.
Now, as we leave this place, the chalice dims, but the fire still burns within our hearts. Beyond these doors, now as we leave this place, memories of each and every face carry us into the world, and we will return, for now we know that something greater than any of us alone is part of us as we leave this place.
Once again, thanks so much to each of you for being here and being a part of this service. Thanks to those who helped plan and create and produce. Mark, Bill, Kathy, Sarah, Sherry, Beth, Robert, AB, Rick, Sharon, myself, and a special thanks to Kenny Moten, who gave us permission to use the video of Lo and Behold with our very own Ann Terzay Schwartz. He's the owner of Narrative Creative Consulting and has been in that show. I think it's still going on, but you can find more information about that at that website below, narrativecreativeco.com. Thanks again to each of you. In just a few minutes, we will be going into our breakout rooms, but first, let's enjoy the postlude that Sharon has chosen. Everything is holy now. What a great understanding. That song by Peter Mayer, who also wrote Blue Boat Home. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget special Earth Day service next week. And now I'm going to open up all the breakout rooms and I'll see you there.